there's one more.
Okay, so do you want to? Well, this was one of your questions. Or do you want to read this one?
Yeah.
If you can't read my handwriting, sorry.
Does it deter the formation of human-to-human relationships to develop emotionally complex robots? If so, is there something fundamentally wrong with fewer human-to-human relationships?
Isn't this something that's already happening with social media?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because people are having human-to-human relationships, but online instead of in person.
That's true.
And we increased the need for that during the pandemic.
But there still is a person on the other side who you could
Yeah.
one day meet in person and have a real relationship with.
But what if there isn't? I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, there are people on, I got really into Twitter during the pandemic, and I got really into following people who write fics and stuff. And, like, I'm sure they're human, but what if they're not? I wouldn't know.
But you're working under the assumption that they are human, so there's
I
that.
am. But I don't know if I'd be bothered if they weren't.
I would.
I mean, I'd be bothered if they were like maybe a Russian bot or something.
So there is AI that does write prose.
I've seen those scripts.
I do like robot scripts. I love them so
Yeah.
much. It tells us so much about humanity.
Yeah. So some of that stuff can fool you, but I don't think that any of it can be as creative or as surprisingly creative as human writing.
I guess as long as I have both, then I think I'd be okay with making machine friends.
I don't know who was showing this to me, and it could have been one of y'all, but probably not. But someone was showing me about a man who had fallen in love with his robot sex toy.
Is that the thing I posted to the writers group?
Maybe. Where
Yeah,
the robot sex
yeah.
toy gave birth.
No.
And he documented it.
How
does
did
it-
it give
how-
birth?
Did he impregnate it? Did he stuff
Did he-
something up there?
Did he build a robot baby?
These are good questions, and we do need to bring up this article and probably post it on the Facebook page.
I feel like we should talk about this in more detail at a different
We should.
roundtable.
We should. But deterring human relationships, I think so.
Does relationships with look, I think that like anything, it has the potential for overindulging or becoming addicted to something, just like social media. Like I think social, and I keep bringing this back to social media because it's the closest thing I think to having a relationship with a machine that we
Yeah.
have at the moment.
That is true.
And I feel like there are people that will only want online relationships, but maybe some people are better at forming relationships in that way than they are in person. And I'd rather those people have relationships that are fulfilling to them than not have them at all.
That's true.
Yeah.
So there's that. But also, like, I think for me, I do need, if anything, the pandemic has shown me that I do need human-to-human contact.
Yeah.
Right.
So I definitely want that. But also, I think that if there were, like, I love the droids in Star Wars. Like, there are plenty of robots or androids or whatever that I've seen in movies that I can emotionally empathize with and relate to. And I feel like if there were machines that did have their own personalities, I probably would be able to be friends with them and I'd be fine with it. And I don't think it would diminish my relationships with organic creatures.
So yeah, I think there are some people, like I definitely know some people who can only have relationships with like online relationships or friendships or connections, and some people like really hate that and just want to in-person friends, and then some people have a mixture of both. So I think there should be options for every type of person. However, if I were writing a dystopian novel, I would imagine all these individual pods with one person per pod, and they are just surrounded by screens and have a smart pod that does everything for them and talks to them.
God, Chris would love that.
Okay.
And they wouldn't ever need to go out and socialize. And I'm not saying that, like, I just think that if machines have the ability to have like be truly emotional and connected, would we have fewer friends? Would we have fewer in real life friends?
I don't think I would, but I think
I have digital ADHD. So even if I'm texting or
I call it phonesia.
that too, yeah, or it's just like I will completely forget that I'm having an online conversation that is just not possible in person. And then I'll have to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I left you on red. Like,
oh, I mean, like I'll go on my phone to check the timer, set a timer, and then 30 minutes later I'll be like, oh, what did I come on here for? I was on Twitter for 30 minutes and I was supposed to do something else. I was supposed to pay my credit card. What was I doing?
That happens to me too. But definitely inside of conversations where like even sometimes in our thread, I'll post a picture, for instance, and then follow it up with like, oh, I meant to send words with that too. Like 20 minutes later.